Ladies and gentlemen, grab your drinks and popcorn. Today's feature is about to begin. Welcome to Celluloid Codswallop. Hello, welcome to this week's Celluloid Codswallop, and yet again it's James and I discussing some wonderful films. We'll let you know a little secret. We'd actually discussed at the end of our last recording that we'll be talking about this particular film, but I'll start by asking the question that everyone wants to know. James, how are you doing?
I'm doing brilliantly. How are you?
Surviving. For those who've wondered where I've been, I'm still fighting the tail end of like a chest infection. It's better than it was. It can't be much worse than it was. So, but yes, that's why I'm back. And if I sound nasally or I start coughing, I apologize in advance.
It's okay. You're just a resident plague rat for this week.
So the film we're going to be discussing for this episode is a 2007 film called Hot Fuzz, which stars Simon Pegg, and it also stars Nick Frost along with a multitude of other people. So, interestingly, James, how did you first know about this film? Because for me, when it happened, I'd never seen Shaun of the Dead. I didn't know space particularly well. I only saw it because I was visiting one of my friends I was at university with, and he said, "Why don't we go and see that film? Looks interesting." And that's how I got into it.
Well, I got into it because of, naturally, my career. Yes. I joined the police in 2009.
I thought that might.
So I was only, it was 2 years after the film came out, and the film is beloved, especially, well, I can certainly say in my force, it was beloved. Everyone loved it because, as everyone points out, the first half of it is a God's honest truth documentary of being a British police officer. It is 90% of the time sitting in a patrol car talking nonsense. So we were all over the moon because it's like, yes, finally, British policing as it actually is. But we also enjoyed the ending just going off the rails completely.
Well, it's the interesting thing that the main protagonist of our film is Simon Pegg's character, Nicholas Angel, who's like a perfect police officer. He's everything you would want in a police officer. He's also obsessed by his job, and he works for the Met in London, and this is where I'm intrigued. Is this realistic, where they basically are saying to him, all the high level people want rid of him, to move him because he's making them look bad? Is there an element of reality to that?
No.
Right.
The process that's required is basically to become a sergeant, you must pass a sergeant's exam. Mm-hmm. So that would imply that Nicholas is, unless he has already applied and it's just a case of he's waiting for a placement, then normally that's the only way this would work is he's passed his exam, but there are no sergeant's positions available within the Met. But what they would do is they would go up to him and say, listen, you can continue to be a constable until we find you one locally, or we can give you the option. So the idea of the storyline being they just send him off because he's making everyone look bad is, they don't do that over here. But I would also say, he would, as long as he passed his sergeant's exam first, I'm okay with it as a plot line, in that sometimes staffing numbers are required in certain places. You have to have a custody sergeant for handling prisoners. So sometimes you do get moved, whether you like it or not. But the idea of just moving because he's making people look bad, that's, not going to happen.
I was thinking more the element of them wanting to move him, though, because he's making them look bad.
No, it's one of those things of
he's too perfect.
Public image is everything. He would have been the poster boy for every campaign. Would have been, look at our amazing, perfect officer. He's ours. You wouldn't give him to another police force when it's like when you could be rolling him out every social media, every media interaction. You could be like, and here's Sergeant Nicholas Angel. You may know him from his numerous arrests and keeping our streets safe. The idea of it being, the chief inspector comes down and goes, look, Nicholas, you're making us all look bad. It's like, no, you would want it to be maybe become a sergeant and teach the officers because we need more officers like you. It's not a sense of, just boot him and get him out of the way. Because as we see at the end of the film, it all goes wrong for them.
And it's interesting though when we see the amusing montage sequence of all the things he's done that are including cycling proficiency.
Yep, that's real.
But I can believe it. But it just strikes me in the film as being highly amusing to see that. But also I do love the fact that when you see him getting stabbed through the hand, he's actually being stabbed through the hand by somebody very, very famous.
Yes, I was going to mention this, and there's also a nice little nod. Did you notice Sergeant Angel's collar number?
You'd have to tell me what the importance of that is, please.
It's 777, which is the holy number in the Bible. Satan has 666. God has 777.
I'd never noticed.
Because it's not normally 3 numbers; it's usually 4 or even 5 in some forces, but. That's why that got chosen. But yes, Santa Claus is famous.
But also, it's not even just the fact that they go with somebody famous. I mean, it's Peter Jackson who's playing Santa Claus, but it's not like they even just go with somebody who's famous there, because when he goes,
his face is completely covered, and you can't even tell it's him.
But I love the fact that obviously, Nicholas is basically has no option. He's moved, so he goes to try and see his ex-girlfriend, who's a forensics person, and she, to try and tell what's going on. But it's quite funny because even she is played by somebody famous.
Yeah.
It's not like they've just gone with some random person. They get Kate Blanchett.
Yep. Of all people, Kate Blanchett to play Janine, and again. Even we got Martin Freeman playing Nicholas Angel's first sergeant. Then we have Steve Coogan playing his inspector. So that was another nice little cameo because he's uncredited apparently. He's not in the credits. And then Bill Nighy as the chief inspector of the Met. So, but the whole cast list is absolutely fantastic, and it's full of big names. I mean, the Reverend. Is Alan Freeman, who famously played Belloc in Raiders of the Lost Ark. We got Edward Woodward, who was, as you know, a icon for the Wicker Man. I nearly said Burning Man then, and I went, no, that's a good festival. It does. It's a spoiler for that film, but.
But it is. It's this. The cast is. It's interesting. I mean, to be fair, one of the major reasons me and my friend went to see is, Timothy Dalton's in this. Let's see what he's doing.
Yes.
Because Nicholas has basically moved to this village, but he can't actually move into the police house. So it's not ready, so he's staying in a hotel. And it's a bit like one of these films of a who's who of famous British actors. Because I've gathered when they're casting it, one of the things is they looked at. Timothy Dalton's character. They said, well, let's get a Timothy Dalton type. And it was kind of suggested, well, why don't we just ask Timothy Dalton if he wants to do it? And lo and behold, he turned up to do it.
And he does an absolutely fantastic job. I have to admit, I almost feel like he's chewing the scenery.
Yes.
When he's playing, his character of Simon Skinner, he is the manager of the local supermarché. His words, not mine.
Yes.
But I always felt like he was playing a character. So when he's being the public Simon Skinner, he is chewing on the scenery. He's dead cheesy. It's hilarious. He really knocks it out the park with this one. Like when he's trying to be ridiculous, he achieves it, and he looks like he's having fun with it as well.
Well, to say like the mustachioed villain, I mean, he does have a mustache, but I remember there's an interview where he's saying he didn't I think Simon Pegg was saying he didn't particularly want to grow a mustache, but they kind of got him to do it. And then he was saying, like, on set, you'd hear Nick Frost and Simon Pegg nudging each other and commenting on the fact that he was in Flash Gordon.
I mean, there's so many cast members and as you say, icons, and I love the fact that they're not always in the biggest parts.
Yes.
Like David Bradley is absolutely fantastic as an actor. He barely says 2 lines in this film, but the lines he says are hilarious.
They're also not the easiest things to.
I have to admit, I love that element.
To understand.
I love that element. So he moves into this little country. He ends up in this model village is the best way to describe it.
Well, it's Sandford, isn't it? And it's like one of these little back and beyond places where everything kind of appears perfect and everybody has their part within the community.
Yeah, it feels so much like almost like a set, quite literally.
Like a chocolate box kind of thing.
Exactly. There's one of everything and everyone does their bit and everyone knows each other. And Gemma has lovingly pointed out that in the real Sandford, someone has written YARP on the Welcome to Sandford sign, but it keeps getting painted over.
And to explain that for anyone who's not seen the film, there's a character in it who's a very big chap. He works at a supermarket. Michael. And he's let's be honest, he's inbred. So
he goes by the name of
bloke.
Yeah. Michael Armstrong. He lives up the village with his mum and his sister, who are the same person. He's, as my colleague has pointed out, he is very slow. He only says 2 words, which is yarp and narp, although we never actually hear him say narp, which is it's another brilliant scene. But yes, he's introduced to everyone, and he ends up arresting half the village before he even starts on his first night.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing with you look at Sandford, you think, well, nothing's going to happen, and generally, Nicholas decides to go out and see things. He goes to the pub and finds masses of the local youth drinking underage and basically clears the pub out by arresting them all.
Another cranberry juice, sir? No, thank you.
But he gets to meet, the person who's going to be the other protagonist of this film, which is Danny Butterman's character, who's played by Nick Frost, who basically is drunk and about to drive off, so he arrests him.
Yeah, and I love that scene just for that little thing of Danny trying to get his key in the door and Nicholas coughs at him. He's like, you weren't planning on driving home, were you? No. And then the next thing you know, you just hear the car reversing at speed towards him as he's inspecting the fountain in the middle of town. And then, he ends up dragging Danny. He gets Danny out the car, and he says probably the best line. I'm taking you to the station. Where is it? So Danny's having to guide him through the village. He ends up running into a couple of the other drunk lads that he's kicked out. One of them's urinated in public. The other one's got a traffic cone on his head. And they all end up going back to the station. And again, another brilliant cameo. Bill Bailey as the twin desk sergeants.
A very surly desk sergeant.
Well, you only find out at the end that they're twins, which is fantastic. I love that idea of it's not mentioned in the entire film that they are twins. It is literally a cutaway gag. Just before the final big act, that's when they reveal that there are actually 2 twin desk sergeants. One of them is very prim, and he's the nice, polite one. He's the day sergeant.
Happy, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's as you said, the surly night sergeant introducing him. He's like, "Oh, Nicholas Angel, when did you start? Tomorrow." "Oh, do you really want to book all these in? My pen's running out." "Don't worry, I brought my own."
But I do love the fact that when it comes to the next day, when he actually finds that who Danny is, he's going, he's escaped. Who has?
Yeah. Yeah. Where is it? Open cell 4. He's disappeared. Where?
Yeah.
Why are you dressed like a police officer? Because I am one.
So is Danny a realistic police officer?
Yes and no.
Yeah, I thought so.
In the sense of, unfortunately, like, again, it's the idea of the. I say yes in that, yeah, you do often get like paternal and fraternal, people following in and joining up, but I can't see how Danny got through the training process.
Right.
Because again, all initial training is covered out of, like, it's within the force, but usually, as noted in his introduction, Sergeant Angel goes off to the training academy, and Danny would have had to have done the same thing. And he's not old enough to be where he's become lazy. He's almost portrayed as like very young 20-something in Hot Fuzz. So that would imply he's not even been in very long. So the idea of him being squirreled away to a back of beyond. I mean, again, his dad could have put in a nice word, got him transferred. He may have barely passed, but then his dad's got him under his wing as like, I can look after him, at least I know where he is. So it is one of those things of, yes, there are some officers who are like that, but not many. They're usually weeded out pretty early on.
It's to me, and it's just a terrible thing, but having been around some police officers, it's more the moment that really makes me think of the police with Danny's when he's trying to get over the fence.
Yes.
I hate to say it. Yeah.
No. I was on what they call patrol, which meant I was answering 999 calls. So there's two departments. There's neighborhood and there's patrol officers. I was a patrol officer, which meant answering 999 calls, basically waiting in the car. Danny is pretty much the definition of a neighborhood officer in that he goes out and, he takes all the nuisance calls. He knows all the young lads in the village, as he later proves. He's like, oh, yeah, I know who this is. Why didn't you say something before? I'm not made out of ice.
Yeah, it falls into the people. When I worked in housing, I worked with the neighbourhood team a lot with the police, and this is where I could kind of see the levels of realistic.
Yeah. Work. But he's introduced to the team, including two detective sergeants who've probably never solved a crime in their life. The Andes.
I just love them. I think absolutely brilliant.
They are fantastic. Paddy Constantine. Sorry, is it Constantine? I don't know.
Constantine, I think.
Yeah, Constantine and Rafe Spall. They do a brilliant job. They've got they have some of the best lines. The way they react to Nicholas is like, the bullying is spot on. I will say this: the bullying is spot on, especially after the newspaper article. Morning, Angle. But
it's also when we also, I mean, the cast again. At the time, we would not know. We knew she was a good actress. We knew her from comedy, but the fact we got a major Oscar winner in the film of Olivia Colman, playing the only female police officer in the entire team.
Yeah, Doris.
Who some of the lines she comes out with.
The innuendos are off the scale. It's fantastic. And again, as you said, this is an Oscar-winning actress, and she's coming out with some of the filthiest lines you've ever heard. And again, I love the oldest constable who has Saxon, the police dog.
Oh, yes.
I actually found out was a real police dog, but failed because he was too nice.
Well, I can believe that. He seems to be a very, very, pleasant dog.
He wasn't. Yeah, he couldn't be. He just couldn't get the attack idea, so he became a movie dog. But yeah, his Black Country accent is just hilarious because you just hear nothing Like you just hear mumbles and then the odd word, and it just makes it even funnier.
But it's also great that when the punishment for the indiscretion. Now this I could believe for Danny is that he has to buy them all food.
There is a thing called cake fines.
Oh, excellent.
And cake fines are for things like losing your hat and things like that. So again, it is incredibly accurate. If you make a boo-boo on shift, you will be punished, but usually the punishment is you have to buy the station cakes. Yes. So it would have been, not only would it be Danny has to eat the cake, but he also has to buy it. So he will have had to have brought in like 2 gatos out of his own pocket as punishment for that.
I once heard of a punishment the police officer I used to work with, who was in like the kind of neighbourhood team, and they basically took all one of the colleagues' clothes and locked them in a locker. As a way of getting back at them.
Yeah. We once actually emptied out a locker and put another PC in it. On purpose. So I won't use names because I won't because I'm still friends with them. So, but Officer A wanted to prank Officer B, and we helped by emptying Officer B's locker into our lockers. So the equipment was still safe. You know, we knew where everything was, but we made room for Officer A so that they could fit inside the locker, and then we shut him in. And then when Officer B came on shift, he was sat inside with his mobile phone recording. And as soon as Officer B opened the door, Officer A leaps out and goes, "Rah!" Yeah,
so you were getting insight people into the reality of policing within the United Kingdom. But going back to the film, I absolutely love that when, in fact, is it prior to this or is it just after, when basically Angel gets to meet the village by going for a run, and
it's the morning after. It's the morning after.
So the way everyone's introduced to him.
Yeah, everyone doing their jobs, and then just Timothy Dalton being introduced by running up to an officer going, "I'm a slasher and I must be stopped."
I love it. Yeah.
I'm a slasher of prices. Simon Skinner, manager of the local supermarché.
Yeah, he does fun runs.
Yeah, training. Catch me later, and then runs off. And that, I think, that's the morning before he gets to the station and introduced to the team. And then it's like, right, it's it's 11, or is it? It's a 11:45, and since it's your first day, we'll call that lunch.
Yeah.
So they all go down the pub.
Yeah. Which he clearly is not too thrilled about doing.
No, and the snide comments and the sarcastic nature of the conversation. I'm like, yeah, that's what it's like. We'll save each other's lives, but we'll still call each other names.
Well, it's the fact that you kind of wonder at this stage. Clearly Angel doesn't really want to be there, and is he trying to get into the team or not? I don't know. But what he does learn very quickly is that he has to kind of get in being part of the community. So they're sending him off to various different events, and is it a neighbor? He gets to meet the neighbor watch people, and he goes to like a meeting.
He goes to the school first.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, where Danny's asking him stupid questions.
Danny he says, "Are there any questions?" And it's Danny with his hand up, and he goes, "Yes." And Danny goes, "Is it true that there is a place in someone's head where if you shoot them, it will blow up?" And this is all because in the introduction, it's explained that Nicholas not only was a wonderful police officer, but also he was a member of SO19, who are the Met's major armed response unit. And it plays into he had to shoot I believe it was a kidnapper with a AK-47, because they make jokes about, "Oh, Cor, where did you get that?" The offender had the Kalashnikov. Where did he get
and
that?
They talk about guns, and he's going, everybody
Yeah.
around here's got guns, and they're they
Everyone and their mums is packing round here. Like
we all sell apples.
Farmers' mums. Yeah, and when Andy takes a drink, they've both got mustaches, and he gets a foam mustache because he gets caught, and Nicholas is like, "You've got a mustache," and Andy just goes, "I know."
Well, I also like the element when clearly, there's this view that Nicholas has led this amazing, happy, well, not happy, but really exciting kind of life. He talks about getting injured and stabbed, and it was like the most painful thing ever. But Danny's
what's the second most painful experience?
Danny's like obsessed by this idea. Obviously, Danny's a major film freak, and which we learn later on, there's obsessed with Bad Boys and was it Point Break and things.
There is nothing wrong with being obsessed with films.
But it's this
Otherwise,
point
we're out of a job.
Well, yeah, but it's this point where I always love the scene where he's walking down. He's going, I want to do what you do. He goes, you do what I do.
Yeah, they're sat in the car just before, trying to, doing a speed check. I just feel like I'm missing out. Missing out on what? I just want to do what you do. You do what I do.
Yeah.
You are a police officer. And also, it's a wonderful, the juxtaposition is wonderful because you immediately then get into a car chase, which I believe is the shortest car chase in cinema history. And Edgar Wright was going for that on purpose.
Well, it's a vast. The whole push of this film is that we're going from the sleepy village where pretty much nothing's happened to, and again, it's kind of sleepy stuff, I guess, because you see they're pulling over. It's David. Who is it now that he pulls over?
David Threlfall.
Yes, David Threlfall's character, who's a solicitor and an amateur dramatic actor, and he pulls him over for speeding.
Martin Blower.
Looks very realistic though when he's trying to get out of it. And he's going,
absolutely.
What are you doing? I'm writing down everything you're telling me.
Yeah. Stop writing. And then Danny's like, you see what I did there, Danny? You hypnotized him. No, I used my brain, Danny.
Well, it's the fact that Nicholas uses his notebook correctly. Danny uses it to put cartoons in and create a flip book of someone getting shot.
Yes, and there is actually on the DVD extras, there is actually a second drawing, and it's included on the DVD extras. So when he says, "You want to see one on the other side," there is another one where the guy gets run over and then shot.
But I love how we get this, and again, there's what I love is Nicholas is by the book. He's saying, "I'll give you some tickets to watch the production of Romeo and Juliet." And he's going, "Can't accept it." So chucks them, and then they turn up at the station, and they're told, basically, for community cohesion to bring everyone together, it looked good. Got some tickets for the
got a ticket for you. There's a spare for Danny as well, and Danny does what I love, the childish. Nick Frost is perfect at this. It's the childish clap of
like a monkey toy. It's like a little monkey toy, isn't it?
He's brilliant, and when he claps and then they go and see it, and it's a rip off of. It's awful, and it's proper amdrams. It's a rip off of Romeo plus Juliet, which was a fantastic version, but. It's the acting's awful, and then they break into song at the end, which
the
is
Cranberries
brilliant.
Song. Not the Cranberries. Was it the Cranberries? No. Whoever it was that did the music.
Dun, 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 love me, say. No, I think it was actually the Cranberries, but it's Cockney.
Yes.
Because it's been played by Bill Bailey.
But I love at the end when they go to when they're reviewing it, and Timothy Dalton's response, utter tosh.
Yeah. But again, what I love about the film is it loves to toy with the audience as well, because there's a fantastic moment at the beginning when he's first introduced to Sandford, and it's almost played like a horror.
Yes.
Because the minute he goes to check in, you've always been here, my dear. Excuse me? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were my husband. And that again, I just love those little twists. And as the film goes on, you start seeing the murders, and obviously the first one is the decapitation of our leading man and lady the night after their performance. Again, Danny has the wonderful line of, "It's an accident. We don't call it an accident. We call it a collision. Why can't we call it an accident again?" Because it implies that no one's to blame. And again, you get the wonderful cheesiness of Timothy Dalton with him turning up at the crime scene, and the musical cues as well. He's listening to Love Struck Romeo. Yeah. Dire Straits.
It's like going back to the Tosh line, though. I particularly like that because obviously Timothy Dalton was a trained Shakespearean actor.
Yes.
So has him critiquing it. It's like another little nod.
I always love it when they do when actors have to do that, when they are forced to act badly for the role. Because it's always fun seeing professional actors acting badly. So they pull it off to absolute finesse. And again, when you see Nicholas trying to use his deductive brain of going, well, they're clearly having an affair, and Danny's only addition to that is, I also believe that she is drawn to the older man. Oh yeah, why is that? Marcus Carter's big brother said he fingered her up the duck pond.
And
he's choking on his drink. And again, I love Danny missing the social cues as well. Like when after the premiere night, and they're all going home, and Angel says he tells Mr. Draper to drive safe, and Danny's like,
"Oh yes,
don't you remember that's the blow we just done for speeding?" But yeah, they are our first victims. They are decapitated, and the scene is staged. And I love the discussion with the Andes of like, this wasn't an accident. And he's like, well, what else have you got? Skid marks. Now who's being childish?
Well, it's also the fact that, it's like we as the viewer know that it's not this, just a road traffic incident. We see them being a hooded, cloaked figure killing. But, when it shifts, there's also the scene that's brilliant is the illegal weapons that are found at the farmer's place. This is obviously the ultimate plot point. They've got to find some way of being able to get a load of weaponry, because they've described this film as being like the English police film take on an American police action film.
Yeah,
and there's got to be some way to get weaponry into.
How do you make a buddy cop? How do you make a buddy cop film in Britain? Because this idea of he's like they go out for what would it be? Nuisance. It's a nuisance call between neighbours. It's
like a land dispute, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically David Bradley's character, Arthur Webley, has been cutting hedgerows that don't belong to him, and they have to bring with them the old officer.
With Saxon.
his name's Bob Walker, with Saxon, because again, David Bradley does a wonderful job at broad can be black country accent. And they do the wonderful thing of having to translate through three different people. So it has to go from David. It has to go from David Bradley. Then it has to go to Bob Walker, who's played by Carl Johnson, and then it has to go to Nick Frost, so that Simon Pegg knows what's going on. And through the course of this conversation, he's like, David Bradley's got he's got a double-barreled shotgun over his arm. And Sergeant Angel just, again, this is spot on. I can assume you've got a license for that shotgun. I does for this one.
Yeah, that one.
I does for this one.
What? He does for that one. What do you mean that one?
Yeah, and then we open the barn, and there's just racks and racks of firearms, and the pièce de résistance, the sea mine.
A mine, yeah.
What is that? Sea mine.
Sea mine.
It's like, that's extremely dangerous. I'm surprised no one's been hurt. Nah, just a bunch of old junk.
Yeah, and he hits it with his
Hits it with the
shotgun.
buttstock of the shotgun, and it starts ticking. So they all bail out, and then it cuts to the next scene, and he's like, "No, it's deactivated apparently." And just in the background, David Bradley's just like, "Yeah, it's deactivated," and starts hitting it again, and Simon and Nick Frost is kicking it.
I was going to say, yeah, Danny kicks it, doesn't he? So I mean, I love the fact that it shows you in this tiny little village that nothing happens, that their evidence room is empty. There's just nothing in it. It's
no,
like
there
cobwebs.
is. There's a hedgehog.
A cobweb. Oh,
there's a hedgehog. No, sorry. There's a hedgehog in the riot room. There's a hedgehog sitting in the armor. Because again, they've got a riot room full of public order uniforms that have never been touched. And as I say, cobwebs everywhere. The code for the evidence locker is 999.
999, yeah. But obviously it's racked full of weapons after that, yeah.
Yeah, and they put the sea mine in the middle. And yeah, and then we get the first call to the supermarket. So he's properly introduced to Lurch and the deli boys, as I like to call them, who are the two silent, I want to say henchmen, because it's probably the best way to describe them. But they are two, they're two, I think they're supposed to be brothers, but they work at the supermarket, but they also run the breakdown service, because they recover Danny's car after his little fracas in the beginning, and they recover the car from the first murder scene. And you're introduced to all these players, and then we get to see the first action scene being the infamous foot chase. Sergeant Angel catching a young teenager stuffing biscuits down his pants. And it's just brilliant. It's the fact that Angel slides into view on camera.
Oh yes. How he didn't fall. I bet that was took quite a few shots to get right.
Watch the outtakes. If you ever get the opportunity to watch the outtakes, there's like 6 of them where he just keeps hitting the shelf because he's just overshooting slightly. Or he's
it's also the great thing that when Danny's looking at books, he's just looking at DVDs. One of them's like a parody of Shaun of the Dead.
Yes, there's it's the Mexican version of Shaun of the Dead.
Wow, I did not know.
Yeah, the DVD case, he's looking through the bargain bin because he picks up Super Cop.
The cop that can't be stopped.
Which is Jackie Chan. Yeah, he reads that out just as Nicholas Angel runs past him on a foot pursuit. It's brilliant. But yeah, the DVD cover that is meant to be Shaun of the Dead is actually it's the Spanish-speaking version. And I believe Edgar Wright, the director, said it was from the Mexican DVD, because that's how they could get away with it, because it's Shaun of the Muerta, I think. I butcher foreign languages, but the whole, because the title is completely different. They could get away with it, so we could sneak in that nice little nod to Shaun of the Dead, as well as obviously it being part 2 of the Cornetto trilogy.
But it's also the fact that once he's apprehended the lad, the shoplifter, who is like someone's relative that Danny knows, something's brother's mother,
Danny's sister's brother's boy.
Yeah. And it's the fact that he really wants to go after him for the shoplifting, whereas Dalton's like, nope, not going to prosecute. He's at the station with a packet, and with that great line, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
With the evidence, yeah, it's the evidence. He's handing out the evidence, and he's like, no, I believe in second chances, and and it's that idea of Nicholas is going to have to get used to village life being different. And in this case, again, it's very true that, yes, we would arrest, and it is entirely up to the victim as to whether he wants to press charges. If he doesn't want to press charges, that's it.
It's also the way, but it's also the way, isn't it, when Skinner speaks to him, there's always like an implied threat. And I think that's
absolutely.
probably Dalton. I think that's always probably Dalton's wonderful, speaking voice and dictation, that he goes and very precise with his wording, that it becomes somewhat of a threat in every kind of thing.
Yeah, and
a menace is underlying.
Yeah, it really plays to it. And then obviously we then get the second murder. Because Nicholas is starting to question things. Obviously, is he overthinking things? So he goes to the pub with Danny to try and relax. We find out about...
He drinks, doesn't he? Because he doesn't normally drink. So they get him to have a drink. And it's the wonderful scene where he's going, I think, there are other people that are drinking. He goes, I think you've had too much. He goes, oh, I'm all right. This is, the Jim Broadbent's character, the sergeant.
Yeah.
Inspector, he's going, I think you've had too much. He goes, no, I'm all right, sir. And he goes, not you, him.
Yeah.
The guy.
What's his name?
He wants the Mega Mart.
Yeah. He's a fridge magnet, they call him. The fridge magnate.
Peeing in the corner.
He's George Merchant, that's it.
Yeah.
And he's drunkenly pissing against the one-armed bandit. But before that, there's the wonderful line of, as you say, Nicholas is trying to loosen up and goes to have a drink, and he asks the barman, what's your wine list? We got red, and we got white.
Now, there's a worrying element
that
was a realistic thing at one point. That's pretty much how wine was at a certain point.
Yeah, what colour do you want? But again, it goes to show that, city life is very different, and I did love it. And then, so unfortunately, Angel and Danny have to go take George home, which is the brilliant line of, see, we did get a little drunk tonight, because George isn't the tallest person in the world.
I also love the fact that Danny takes payment from him.
Yeah.
And Angel's like, and there's your change.
Yeah, 20 quid. And then Angel just takes him off it, hands it back, and goes, and there's your change. And he falls into the house, and it is a hideous house.
But it's also that great moment how every death there is a line from, and you'll have to refresh memory what it's this one, but there's a line like from Dalton when he's saying about the awful dramatic acting in the play. He's going, may their heads be struck from their shoulders.
Yes. Yeah, and again he brings that up later on as well when he's like, they killed Bill Shakespeare. Who? Oh yeah. But yeah, these obviously the murders keep happening.
The house gets blown up, doesn't it?
It's not like it gets demolished. They set the crime scene. They being the hooded figure again. They set the crime scene to make it look like he tried to drunkenly make himself a midnight snack and left the gas on. So he opens up the gas taps on the cooker, and they leave a candle burning as a fuse. And again, I love that you've got to remember from the viewer's point of view on rewatch, it's wonderful how you realise everything's covered up because, as you said, everyone has their role. The doctor's in on it. So, yeah, the doctor can make up whatever he wants for cause of death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's quite obvious it was an accident. He tried to make a drink whilst, he tried to make himself some dinner whilst being off his skull. But again, Angel just cannot drop it because it doesn't make any sense.
But yet again, we get to the wonderful thing when the police are there, they're closing the scene investigating. You have Dalton going past again, Skinner, and as you said, it's always a music thing.
Fire, banana.
The crazy world of Arthur Brown, isn't it, playing?
Yeah.
And doesn't he like salute him, two finger salute?
He just waves and drives on, and it's just like, and that's when Angel's like, there's got to be something about it, but he gets punished again by being made to do the county fair. So they have a county fair with
Splat the rat.
Yes, Timothy Dalton
Splat
is
the rat.
And he's so menacing with it, and that's when we find out that the local
it's the reporter,
journalist,
isn't it? Yes,
we shall call him
Angle.
Yeah, he is played by Adam of Adam and Joe, so it's Adam Buxton. He plays Tim Messenger, who is he is a very, very bad journalist.
Yeah, oi.
He has constant spelling mistakes, but he tells Angel, "I have something to tell you. Meet me at this point with his 3 o'clock."
Yeah, but the thing with Messenger is that he tries to twist everything to make it sound more exciting. He says something like "death of two young lovers" do the Shakespeare piece. I hardly think that's
police officer enjoys watching young lovers.
That's the one. Yeah.
Top cop supports teen suicide. No, that's just being that's just being inappropriate. But he goes to tell Angel something. Angel arrives too late, just as their eyes meet. Tim Messenger's head gets crushed by.
Yeah, it's like holy shit, because they push off the and it splats his head.
It's a wonderful effect as well, where they actually got the splatter on the camera lens.
Yes,
because the whole effect is actually CGI, but they actually made it so to make it even more visceral. The fake guts actually splat the lens, and there's a little bit of distortion from it. And then it cuts
something off the top of the church, haven't they?
Yes, another hooded figure has pushed one of the ramparts off, which, again, we are alluded to the condition of the roof with the swear box in the station, because the swear box is from the repair of the church roof. So that's how, again, it's pushed as an accident, because, well, we all know the roof's falling apart. But again, so, Angel puts his foot down, and weirdly, the inspector, Jim Broadbent's character, goes along with it.
Yeah, because he actually gets them to do proper work. He goes, basically
to do the proper
everything else.
Yeah.
Secure the area.
Shouts to them all, and he's like, "Nope, we're going to take this properly." And then Angel starts doing his research, because he screams at the Andes, because they're complaining. If you want to go read every copy of the Sandford Citizen, then be my guest. It's your job. Investigate. So he does. He goes to the library. He goes through makes copies of everything, and him and Danny come up with what I would say is the perfect midsummer murder solution. In that it's exactly what you would expect from a drama. But
it's also prior to this. We finally, because Angel doesn't really know his action films and his police films, and prior to this, when he got drunk, I forgot to backtrack to this one. Danny gets him to watch action films. He gets him to watch Bad Boys.
Which one do you want to watch? Yeah, which one do you? So he goes, Bad Boys 2 or Point Break. Which one do you think I prefer? No, I mean, which one do you want to watch first? You've got. But
it's also the fact that I love the way that Envy goes, well, that kind of carnage, would produce an awful lot of paper.
Yes. Yeah. You can't. You can't cause that kind of carnage and mayhem without racking up a considerate amount of paperwork.
But it's also, when you look at elements of conversations that Danny and Nicholas have, I've gathered that there's certain points, like when he's talking about not being able to switch his brain off. I suspect those are the lines that there was a consideration at one point to give Nicholas a potential love interest, and they worked out it would be no use, they couldn't cast someone or whatever. So they basically just stuck the lines to Danny, which kind of makes sense with those little bits where they're talking, they're having like an intimate conversation.
Well, I do like that. Again, like when Angel kind of finally snaps and is out to absolutely prove that something's going on, he goes to buy Danny a present.
Oh yes, the plant, the peace lily.
Yes, and a little bit of a joke for the tadpoles listening. I do have a Japanese pistole, and yes, it is called Nicholas. He sits on my desk, and I have had him for nearly a decade.
Fess up, do you talk to it?
No.
Good.
No, but he often listens because I often talk to myself. So,
but it's obviously there's that situation where he does start doing the digging, and he's found out there's issues out there too with is it land development and other problems. And
basically, he works out that George Merchant wants to open a big retail park. Because he's got the money to do so. He is friends with the solicitor, who was the leading man in the show, and Eve Draper, the leading woman, worked for the planning department. So George found out where the bypass was going to go, and these are all littered through the film, like front pages of newspapers. You see them discussing the possibility of a bypass and things like that, and it would go right through Leslie Tiller, the local botanist. It would go through her garden centre. So George puts in an offer to purchase the land from Leslie, but
played by the brilliant Anne Reid.
Yes.
Who lived near, I believe, near my father for a while. So back when she worked on Coronation Street, I mean, that's many, many moons ago. So,
he wonderfully ties everything together. He does a brilliant job. And again, the death of Leslie.
Oh God, it's so graphic.
Shears to the neck. Again, it's wonderful in this weird juxtaposition world of. We have some really funny scenes and then graphic violence.
Well, you're kind of watching it. If you think about the way this film originally looks at the start, you're watching, again, you hit the nail on the head with Midsomer Murders. It's like this gentle kind of police procedural set in a lovely leafy village. And it ain't going to be all nice. And it's the sort of thing in America and other countries they'd love. And it's not going to be so violent. And then suddenly, boom,
it's exactly like I said. It's like Midsomer.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. You've got all these local things, and just there's, deaths that look like accidents, and then we get to see one, and then we have the fantastic flip out of Nicholas.
Yeah, because he's tried to chase the hooded figure, that he's now finally seen the hooded figure.
Yeah, and he can't catch him, and that's what makes him believe that Simon Skinner is behind it all. Because he wanted to stop the development because it would close his shop.
Yes.
Because he's running the local supermarket. So he killed everyone to basically save his own business.
And he's related to Anne Reid's character, isn't he?
Yes, they are cousins. Cousin Sissy. Because Timothy Dalton did ballet.
Yeah. It's also the fact that when he's trying to tell them about the problems, he's flipping out, isn't he? As you said in the police station.
He puts like £4 in the swear box, and he's like, Leslie Tiller was fucking murdered. Change the fucking record.
When he goes, maybe it was an accident, and they go, really? He goes, of course not.
Yeah, he's listing all the names off, and it's like, this one was murdered, and what about this one? No, that really? No, cause he fucking was.
Like, what if she'd tripped and fell on her own shit?
and again, he's gaslit into overthinking everything. He goes and confronts Skinner. Skinner's got CCTV of him being in the shop at the time, so it physically can't be him, and so Nicholas Angel is gaslit. Fun fact as well, when Nicholas tries to find the cut, because Leslie's killer has a cut on their shin. We never find out who it is. He knows that whoever killed her has a cut on his knee, so he goes and grabs Timothy Dalton's legs and drags his trousers up.
Yes.
No one knew Timothy Dalton was wearing sock suspenders.
Really? I did not know
That
that.
is not part of the that's not from the costume department. That's from Timothy.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah.
So
'cause
when
it just
they
adds
first
to it.
did
Yeah.
when they first
Yeah.
did the reveal and he's wearing sock suspenders, everyone burst out laughing because they were just like, "How can I can't take that?" You know.
Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? If you look at the character,
it's perfect.
Yeah.
It is perfect. So he gets gaslit into thinking he's going mad. So the inspector tells him to go back to the hotel and just calm down. He's having a drink, and the owner of the hotel comes up to him and goes, "Isn't it terrible what happened to Leslie?" And he parrots it, but he does it in monotone. He's like, "Yeah, she slipped and fell on her own shears." You know, like he's trying to convince himself that's what happened, despite him being there and seeing the whole thing go down.
Well, I'm going to circle back to a point because there's a thing where Skinner's talk about everyone have second jobs nowadays. It's quite a normal thing, and he mentions that the assistant who works there is a table dancer.
Yes.
I always think that Dalton's character is sleeping with her. I
think more Andy's trying to.
Oh, I know
one of the
trying.
Andy's giving her the eye. But I certainly think there's probably some connection there. I didn't see it because I always thought they were going to have a thing with it was Michael and Skinner. Just in the
that'd be interesting.
He would look after him.
Yes.
You know, that kind of thing. But yeah, so Nicholas Angel is back in his hotel and he gets jumped by Michael in his hotel room.
Poor Michael. You know, his job when he's like child vomit on aisle 5.
Yeah, but so Nicholas distracts him with a cuddly monkey he wins for Danny on an air rifle game, and then hits him over the head with the peace lily. And then he calls his inspector and then calls Danny. And then goes off to this secret meeting where
there's the radio, isn't there? Before anything, there's the
yes.
radio. Where
Simon's like, "Have you taken care of Angel?" And he's like,
he goes, "Yarp." He goes, "Is he going to get up again?"
Yarp. Good.
Good.
And there's that pause of it. Yeah. Good. Now, come to the castle. So Nicholas Angel then finally gets the big reveal, and I think it is absolutely wonderful. Like, the twist is fantastic. He discovers that the entire neighborhood watch is behind it all, and it's all because they want to win Village of the Year.
Yes.
Because they've won it how many years on the trot? I think 3 years on the trot.
Well, it also ties into the fact that earlier on you get to meet Edward Woodward's character who runs the neighborhood.
The liaison. The liaison officer.
He's obsessed by the fact that the kids are causing problems, and there's the human statue.
Yeah. And again, it's stereotypical stuff, but then when you find out that they're willing to murder over it, and Jim Broadbent reveals that it was his wife who really wanted the, she really put her heart and soul into it, and a week before was it the night before the judgment, a band of travelers moved in, and he was before we knew it, we were up to our necks in dog muck and crusty jugglers. Thieving kids and crusty jugglers. And ever since then, they've done whatever they needed to keep the village proper. And it's all this big cabal thing, but it's like, why do we have them killed? Because you find out the first murders were literally because they were bad actors, and that we have 2 semi-professionals waiting in the wings.
Yeah, one of them was a cadaver.
Jim was an extra in Straw Dogs, and his wife was a cadaver in Prime Suspect. Why did they kill Messenger? Because he couldn't spell. Why did we kill George Merchant? Because his house was awful. So then, why did you kill Leslie Tiller? Leslie was a shame, but we didn't want anyone else to have her green fingers.
Yeah, they're all, I mean, the valid reasons to be unhappy, maybe not to kill them. But
No,
it's
I also love it's quintessential British surrealism.
Yes, definitely.
Like when you are trying to make a British cop film that's like a buddy cop film, this is exactly what would happen. Upper middle class lunatics thinking, yes, the solution to our minor problems is murder and cover up. It fits perfectly, and then we get the reveal that Danny's been in on it, but he saves Angel's life by putting his notebook in his pocket and then stabbing him in the notebook.
And
so it
like
looks
ketchup,
to everyone else.
Yeah,
because
Danny's had this weird trick that he can do with. I mean, it never worked this way, but where it looks really realistic, like he's hurt himself. Because you also get the moment when Angel's running off to try and get away. Before that, and he suddenly finds in the catacombs all the bodies of the people who've been killed, including his predecessor with a great big bushy beard.
And yeah, you find the living
somehow
statue
survived.
and the kids.
But I love the fact that the beard's there. The body's like a skeleton.
Yeah, the body's a skeleton, but the beard's still there, so you know it's him. And I love the fact that the human statue hasn't decayed because he's covered in paint. He's covered in gold paint. So he's just still there, frozen.
It's also kind of cool when you see Broadbent's character that he dresses in a really old style police.
That is a Victorian
uniform.
That is a Victorian uniform, and it is beautiful. It's cloak, proper old-fashioned helmet, and another wonderful thing is apparently in that scene where they all pull out weapons to charge at Nicholas Angel, Edward Woodward pulls out a cane sword.
Really?
Yeah, it's from his own private collection. According to Edgar Wright, he said he brought it on set. It's a real sword, so he only used it for the background shots, and it got cut out because of the aspect ratio, so you couldn't see it when he draws it. And Edgar always said, I was gutted that we couldn't do anything about it, because to get everyone in shot, we had to block view of it, because it was just a gorgeous piece, and it's not something you see every day. But Edward Woodward brought it from home.
Definitely different. I like it.
Yeah.
Definitely different. But it's the way that, to get rid of the body. So you assume Danny is in cahoots with it all and he's going to help. And he jumbles into the back of his...
He throws him in the boot. Volkswagen Jetta.
His Jetta GTI, which my friend was very happy to see. My friend Ian.
I wasn't when I heard it revving and you can hear the fan belt going, but... But yeah, he throws him in the boot, and then he opens the boot, and the camera's in the boot, and he just holds up the ketchup packet, and he's like, "Ta-da! What the hell are you doing? I'm saving your life. Your dad, he's gone mad. He's not Judge Judy and executioner. Yeah. He's not. Go back to London."
Oh God, the London line.
So Danny gives Nicholas his keys and just tells him to go, But he has a crisis of faith. He gets to a petrol station. He sees, I think it's Bad Boys 2 again.
Yeah, there's a rack of DVDs, very specific kind of action sort of police stuff.
So, and that's when he's like, "No, I'm gonna sort this." And
he's saying, "Is there anything I can help you with? Is there anything else I can help?" Is that Edgar Wright?
I think it is. I'm not sure. I know he is uncredited as a shelf stacker, but I don't know whether it's him there or whether he's one in Summerfield. But so he decides to. He tools himself up with a load of spray paint,
which I love.
Sunglasses,
spray paint.
Sunglasses and spray paint.
Is something, and it's the fact that I think it's for that line, or it's something else where they said they kind of like the digitally lowered his voice.
No, he puts a voice on. It's his voice, but he puts on a Hollywood voice to kind of suggest that.
Alter it, right? Yeah.
No, it's him just being it's Simon being Simon and just cocking about.
This is something Yeah,
this is something I have to do.
There's something I have to do alone.
Yeah. And then we get the beginning of the end with the final confrontation. So he starts by running into James Reaper.
It's quite a violent scene, isn't it? She thinks it's Danny because he can see the Golf there revving, and then he takes him out. But then it's what he does to the woman. Now, understandably, she's shot at him, but he runs at her and just full force kicks her in the face.
No, I love it because the whole scene is hilarious, because you start with the fact that he tries to grab the radio to warn the warn the neighborhood watch, and Nicholas Angel runs into his car head on, and it rips the handset out of the radio, so he can't use it. So he screams for his mum.
Yeah.
Nick punches him out, and then his mum misses with a double-barrel shotgun. But again, it's a callback to everyone and their mums is packing. Yeah, like
Correct.
Who? Farmers' mums.
Yeah.
And he's
he
like, what are you going to do?
He takes the car door off, doesn't he?
No, that's later on.
Oh, right.
No, that's later on.
Right, I'm mixing up. But does it sound like what are you going to do? Arrest everybody or something?
What are you going to do? Walk in there on your own and arrest the whole village? Not entirely. And he goes down to the Nick, just walks in. No one acknowledges him.
That's the thing. Nobody
all.
clocks him. Not even Jim Broadbent, who's the inspector, clocks him. He's just reading his paper.
Reading his paper, sucking his cup of tea, and Nicholas clears out the entire... Well, he doesn't clear it entirely out, but he takes 2 pump-action shotguns, 4 pistols, and a rifle, and walks out of the Nick.
And has a toothpick from somewhere.
He's picked up a toothpick because he's gone full Hollywood, which is hilarious. Yeah. But he gets stopped on the way out by Bill Bailey. He's like, oh, Sergeant Angel, someone from London's been trying to call you. Tell him I'll call him back.
That's where he goes, I didn't know we had a mounted division.
Yeah. And then Bill's twin comes in, and he's just like, nobody tells me nothing round here.
Yeah.
And then they just hand wave it away. So yeah, Nicholas Angel rides into Sandford on a white horse.
I'm going to say it's the man on the white horse riding to save everything.
Yes. No, it's not. You might think that. It's not. He rode on a pale horse, and his name was Death.
So it's... right, okay.
It's when the man comes around. Yes, I'm a big Johnny Cash fan, so couldn't help it. But yeah, so he confronts everyone, and it's a wonderful shootout because it confirms all of his previous suspicions.
Insanity. It's wonderful insanity.
He says,
it's also when he sees the little kids and he goes, "Do you want to do something useful?"
Yeah, he uses the hoodies
to spray the cameras.
Yeah, and then gets them to run into the shop, and and because the shopkeeper, no luck catching those killers. Then
well, it's the fact that it ties back to the line when they're on the radio and she goes, that Nicholas seen that Nicholas Angel,
look at his arse.
Yeah. And then which she's exasperated by. Yeah.
Angel's back. Look at his horse. Yeah. And then, so we get the final shootout. She's providing Overwatch. So Nick sends the kids into the shop because there's a sign on it that says one school child at a time. So he sends all of them in. Danny is sat in the patrol car just watching the chaos happen. And Nicholas gets shot by the headmistress, who is on her bike
with 2 guns,
with 2 Walther PKs that she keeps in her little basket on the front, and it's got a foam cutout. So
I was going to say they're in like a perfect.
And then there's a
box.
thermos flask in the middle, but there's cut out of the foam as well.
Gotta have your thermos.
Yeah. So she's shooting away. Danny swings the door open and takes her off the bike because she cartwheels over it. But we discover that Mr. Treacher, who's always been walking around with a long coat on. What's he concealing? Turns out it's a lever action shotgun. It's lever action shotgun, and starts firing on people. But it's that idea of, he brings it up before. It's like, anything could happen, Danny. You need to be unawares. The doctor pulls a picnic rug out of his boot, and again you see guns with cutouts, and like it makes everyone look like they're full-blown assassins.
Well, the doctor's brilliant. When he's trying to basically tell Dan,
corners.
He's going, "I brought you into this world, sort of thing. So I'd take you out."
Yeah, and that's after so between Danny and Angel, they managed to take out the two Amdram actors. They take out Angel takes out the hotel owner with a wonderful line referring back to the first time they meet, because she calls him a fascist, and he corrects her with fascism because they're doing a word search, and he calls her a hag, and so he gives her that clue. So she screams fascist and opens fire with a submachine gun. He ends up shooting a flower basket off a lamppost above her, which hits her on the head and knocks her out. Mm-hmm. And he's like, his finishing line is hag. But yeah, then they get cornered by the priest, Belloc,
who's just brilliant. Why do we have why must have such blood?
Nicholas, my son, are you not a man of peace? And then when Nicholas tries to, be just as philosophical back, he goes, "Oh, fuck off, grasshopper!" Yeah, whips his wrists and shows that he's got two like Derringer pistols concealed in his sleeve, and
you're almost on Taxi Driver, aren't you?
And shoots him in the chest. And Danny panics and thinks, "Oh God, he's killed him." Shoots the vicar in the shoulder. That's when the doctor finally turns up, because Nicholas shows, "No, the vest caught it. I'm all right," which is true. The UK stab vest is rated for knives.
Earlier on, they give him crap, don't they?
Yeah,
you're right about the stab vest, because they say to him, "Why are you wearing a stab vest?" He's going, "It's like departmental procedure."
Yeah, no one's going to stab you here. Well, not a member of the public anyhow. Yeah, so the stab vest catches the round, and then the doctor does the threatening thing where Danny throws a loaded shotgun, and it blows off the doctor's toe, and it's visceral.
Yes. Oh,
it's fab, but it's visceral. So yeah, then they double back into the pub, start taking out the landlord and landlady. They shoot a bear trap onto the landlord's head, and then the rest of the team arrive in their dusty riot armor, and the inspector arrives with two single action army revolvers because he's obsessed with cowboys. But I'm like, I can see the others having all their riot gear, but I can't.
Well, it's also the strange thing that when Broadbent reappears, hasn't he got like old flintlocks?
No, he's got cowboy revolvers, and because they're on display in his office. If you rewatch it, he's got cowboy stuff everywhere, and he has these two nickel-plated silver revolvers, and it turns out they're real, because that's when they start arguing, and Nicholas explains what's been going on, and all the coppers sign on with Nicholas's regain the situation, and Angel's like, no, we're trying to sort this out. And there's a fantastic edit where for some reason he roars like a lion as he's making his escape.
Yeah, because it has saved, actually. I can see in the little window. So I'll have to bridge him. But it's this thing where he's saying, don't you wonder, Nicholas is going, don't you wonder why the murder rate is so high, the death rate is so high, sort of thing. He goes, because he might be on something.
Yeah. Have you ever wondered why the murder rate's so low, but the accident rate is so high? Yeah, they are, according to the International Movie Firearms Database, Inspector Frank Butterman is armed with 2 Colt 1851 Navy black powder pistols.
Wow.
So that might be where you're getting the flintlock from, because there's a big poof of black powder.
As he runs out, because don't they have I think a chandelier falls as well, doesn't it?
Yes,
it's a very cinematic shot.
Yeah. So then, after he gets away, there's a joke line of, "Oh, he'll come around again," like in reference to a game boss, because it's almost like it's almost like it is a video game. So then they do the raid on Summerfields to try and get the last of the group,
which has the absolute wonderful line from Skinner of "Here come the fuzz," my, here come the fuzz.
Yes, he's watching it over CCTV
with you have all these people in the background. They're all just there, stood watching it.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's all the staff, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they all go to their positions, and Angel has the wonderful line of, "Right." Oh, he gets thrown back through the window as he goes in, and he's like, "Right, you take the rest of the store. I'll deal with the trolley boy." And the Andes go, "Hey." Michael comes back through, picks him up, and launches him back in the shop. And they're like, "Oh."
Well, I do love when Angel's fighting Michael. And he's like, "Do you really want to do this?" He's like, "Yerp."
Yarp. Suit yourself. Headbutts him. But yeah, there's a really fun fact about that scene, which is Summerfield said specifically that they could not break the glass on the deli counter. So Edgar Wright was more than happy to say, "Okay, we're going to say that it's bulletproof glass because of the shenanigans."
I like it.
The reason why the bullets are bouncing off is because only Simon Skinner would think to armor plate his deli counter.
Man's a genius.
So, the deli boys are throwing
cutlery.
Knives.
Yes.
They're throwing the knives because it's the deli counter for like the cold meats and stuff. So they're throwing knives. Andy nearly gets hit in the face with a knife, but it shatters a glass of bolognese next to his face. And the other Andy panics. He's like, "Don't worry, Andy. It's just bolognese." But they end up defeating them. And
it's brilliant using trolleys.
Yes, they use all the trolleys and charge into them, which then breaks the glass, which Edgar Wright said, "I was slightly upset, but at the same time, I was more than happy that it happened."
And then we get the wonderful scene, and again, it's the double entendres that Coleman has, when the I forgot what the actress is called, but she's running at her and she smacks her with the one of those wet floor things.
I love a bit of girl on girl action.
Yeah.
And so
but it's the thing, isn't it? Like the spit roast. I mean, that's one of on the double entendres from the thing.
Tina.
Yeah.
Tina is the Tannoy girl. The character.
But there's a bit when there's food being spit roast, and she goes, "That reminds me of Friday night or something." It's
no, that'll be me later.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, "That'll be me later."
Cock.
Cock. I don't know. I've had my top off in this lay-by a few times. Tits. There's some wonderful lines, and then we get to the final chase scene. Skinner jumps in a patrol car with Jim Broadbent. That's when the door gets smashed off by the other patrol car.
Yes.
Because Danny left the door open when he knocked the headmistress off a bike. So Angel and Danny double back, jump in the car, chase after them. Frank ends up crashing because of the missing swan.
Yes, because one of the big things earlier in the film is that when Angel's taking calls, he's rung up, but this guy goes, "There's a swan missing," and he goes, "Okay, very funny. What's your name?" "P.I. Staker." "Oh, piss staker, come on!"
Yeah,
and then finds out it is real.
Real, yeah. Can I get a description of the swan? long neck, orange bill. I mean, it's a swan. But yeah, so the swan causes the car accident. Frank's injured in the car. Danny goes to deal with him. Skinner takes a hostage in the model village, because that's the great thing. They crash into the model village.
Mm-hmm.
Skinner and Angel end up having a fist fight, which I love the little references.
It's a good fight scene, actually.
It's quite good. It's very realistic, and I love the fact that when Skinner has a box cutter, he's got a box cutter knife. It gets knocked out of his hand, and where the knife lands in the shop, in the model village, it goes through the front window of Skinner's shop, but the model village version.
I know when Simon Pegg he talked about filming that scene, he said there's like part of in the back of his mind was thinking, I'm fighting James Bond.
Yes.
And I'm winning.
Yeah. And they make the wonderful reference of Timothy Dalton is just raining down fists on Nicholas Angel. He's like, get out of my village. Yeah. And on the last one, Nick catches his fist, twists his arm back and goes, it's not your village anymore. Final uppercut. And he goes back and collapses into a load of buildings. And then we get the fake out again. The stereotypical villain fake out of he's not quite dead, he's not quite down. So Timothy Dalton charges at Nick.
Well, prior to that, I love when he takes hostages going, was it like, take a step and the ginger nut gets it.
Yeah, so the ginger nut bites him.
Yeah.
Aaron bastard. Aaron A. Aronson.
Oh, that's it, yeah, but it's where he goes, it's what his response, little fucker.
Yeah. But yeah, Timothy Dalton does one last charge, slips on a Summerfield van, and impales himself on a church spire through the jaw.
That is really... Oh, God.
I love the fact that he keeps talking.
Yeah.
Oh, this really hurts. I'm going to need a lot of ice cream. And again...
Ice cream at the station, yeah.
Yeah, we got plenty of ice cream at the station. Isn't that right, Danny? We turn back to Danny and we discover Danny's been taken hostage by Frank.
His own father.
He's so exasperated. The whole thing just goes, pack it in, Frank, you silly bastard. But yeah, Danny gets to do the shooting his gun in the air and going, He mag dumps into the sky because his dad breaks free, makes a run for it, and Danny could shoot him, but he just can't do it. But he jumps back into the other patrol car, which still has the swan in it.
Yeah.
So the swan distracts Frank, and he crashes. And then they do the fantastic Hollywood shot, the Michael Bay.
Oh God, yes, the
down below shot as the chopper comes over. The Met Police have turned up in force, and it's the fact they offer him his job back, and he's like,
missed him. Crime's gone up without
crime numbers have gone down, so we need your help. He's like, no, I kind of like it here. Plus, we have a considerable amount of paperwork, and it goes back to them doing actual paperwork.
Yes. But it shows also brilliantly that Nicholas has now been accepted by the team because they're razzing him, but it's going well. But he kicks a bin at him.
This is the thing. He's found his. Kate Blanchett pointed out in the very beginning, you need someone who can make you switch off from work, and he finds that in Danny.
That's true.
So it shows that at the end, because Danny's the one who comes out and says, this is going to take, because the Andes are like, this is going to take all night. Yeah, we're going to need more manpower for this one. And Danny comes in and he's like, actually, we don't say manpower because, it's a bit sexist. And Angel's the one who says, yeah, but, Doris doesn't mind a bit of manpower, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, you cheeky fucker. Yeah. And then the bin gets launched by the Andes, hits him in there, and he goes, you bastard. Hey, cheeky fuckers.
But it's not
They're
over.
All having a laugh, and it's not over.
It's not over. And it's when I rewatched, I thought, oh yeah, you kind of forgot about the character, but it's Edward Woodward's character who appears.
Yeah.
He's got a very old style gun, hasn't he? If I remember.
He has a blunderbuss.
Yes.
He has a blunderbuss that he just rocks up with, and because he has a control room in the station where he can see all the CCTV from. So when Nick gets all the kids to spray the cameras, he knows something's going down, but he stays there.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, because he can't see anything, can he?
Yeah. And because, unfortunately, Edward Woodward did have mobility issues, that's why he wasn't in, very many scenes. He had to sit down a lot. You know, his shots were only ever of him standing and being sat. So the idea of him still being in the nick was just brilliant. And he's just, as one last twist, he calls him a no good busybody. Know what you are, a bloody busybody.
But what a brilliant way of dealing with it, because he fires and we think it's killed Danny, because Danny throws himself in front of him.
So Nick kicks the bin at Edward Woodward. That makes him fall backwards onto the sea mine, pushing in one of the legs, which finally then sets it off, demolishes the station. But one thing I love about this film is everyone lives. No one dies.
Yeah, it's the fact that at the end of it, we are led to believe, the scene following that you see Nicholas going to a grave and you're thinking, okay, is Danny dead? But it turns out it's Danny.
Yeah, it purposefully covers up. Yeah,
yes.
it purposefully covers up the first name. So you see Nicholas turning up with a bunch of flowers, and he's like, "I hope these are okay." And then Danny just comes on Danny just comes on from off camera. He's like, "Yeah, they're lovely." So it's nice that everything's resettled, and Danny's now the sergeant, Nick's now Angel's now the inspector, and everything's all right with the world.
Yes, because that's the thing. You don't hear him being given his title, but obviously when you know that Danny is a sergeant, you can assume correctly.
You can see the chevrons on his shoulder.
Right.
And
they put him in but I love the fact that he's no longer in a boring police car, is he? They put him in a Subaru. Yes.
Yeah. He got a Subaru Impreza, which, by the way, has the call sign Hotel Foxtrot for Hot Fuzz. Yeah. And the gear stick has HF on it as well. It's fab. And it's used, again, one split second. He does a handbrake turn in the middle of town, because again, it's the wonderful thing to show character development. Sergeant Butterman, little hand says it's time to rock and roll. Putting on the sunglasses again, bring the noise. And it's as I say, I love this film. I think everything about it is great. The acting's brilliant. The choice of cast is superb. The music is fab.
Yeah. It is just it's bonkers fun. It's just because the thing is, I do like Shaun of the Dead, but it's not something, I don't know. It's never resonated with me like this film did. This film, but again, I think I'm not entirely sure. Was Hot Fuzz probably the most commercially successful of the trilogy of films?
Yes.
Again, because I was talking to Gemma about this. Gemma absolutely loves Shaun of the Dead. I watch it, but I don't feel it just doesn't resonate with me the way it does for her, the way this resonates with me as a film. And I've still not seen The World's End.
I have, and that. World's End for me was a disappointment. Because again, it's part of the Cornetto trilogy, so it's Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, at World's End. And at World's End it tries to be a bit too serious, whilst also then trying to be a comedy as well. But I think what the reason Hot Fuzz did so well is because it's quintessentially British.
Yes.
Shaun of the Dead, we've always thought about zombies and the zombie apocalypse. Yes, it happening in the UK being a unique place setting, but this is more everything about Hot Fuzz is British. You couldn't remake it in America. Like, you cannot make anything. You just can't transfer it because all these things are needed.
Well, I think they said that Hot Fuzz is the only one really that they've ever considered they could do a sequel to.
Yes.
And I can see how that would work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as films go, I absolutely love it. I mean, I don't really think it's where you go with a sequel. And I always have this thing with a lot of films now. I'm hesitant to see sequels because it takes away from the original.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works and you get a great sequel, but other times,
rarely.
Yeah, very rarely. But
Usually,
yeah, as films go, I love it.
Usually with sequels, and this is a personal thing for me, the second one is either going to die a death and come back for a third, and the third, like Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom isn't great.
Mm-hmm.
Last Crusade's superb. Or you're going to realise that you've run out of material. Like, the only thing they could do for a sequel to this is Danny goes to London. But it's too late because Danny's become a better copper.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been funnier if Danny had gone to London before Angel had turned up, at which point it's just another fish out of water story. You're not going to get anywhere. You're not getting anything new. Whereas at least by doing 3 distinct genres, we did comedy horror with Shaun of the Dead, buddy cop with Hot Fuzz, and then we did sci-fi with the last one with At World's End. So, but yeah, I
think it's one of the best letting rest and never doing anything else.
Oh, absolutely. It does everything it needs to. We don't need another one. We don't need a sequel. What we need more films like it. I've always said that the spoof is a missing, it's a sadly deceased genre that is probably got some of the best films when you look at things like Hot Shots.
Yeah.
Is absolutely fantastic. Airplane. What's the spy one with Val Kilmer? Top Secret.
Top Secret, yeah. I mean, it's also one of these things when you mentioned with Hot Fuzz about like the horror possible element, because you sometimes do find and I think they've done it with Hot Fuzz. You see on YouTube where they take the trailers and recut them as like horror films, and it works well.
Yeah, well, again, as I said, there's that supernatural element just sprinkled in with the delivery of the line of "Check in, you've always been here." There's little lines of "Excuse me." It's very unsettling, but at the same time, it's just being silly.
But it's a wonderful, wonderful film, and I'm glad it did so well. And I'm glad that we've managed to discuss it on the podcast. Now, what I'm going to have to do, sadly, James, is bring this to a close, or we'll feel the wrath of Gemma, because it's probably all overrun from what she would see as acceptable.
Oh,
not
yeah,
by a lot. Yeah, not by a lot.
No,
but
it is. We're on an hour and a half, so
yeah, she won't kill us too much.
She won't kill us too much. She only gets upset when it goes over the 2-hour mark. Yeah. So yeah, we should call it here.
We could drag it out, but
I'm willing to, but I'm not willing to incur the wrath of Gemma.
No, it's true. She's so very angry, Tadpole. So very angry. It's terrifying. I think She-Hulk, but even worse.
But no, I think it's a great film. Absolutely one of my favourites. It's a good, solid film. There's very, very little I could even say I would change. That's what always gets me is sometimes you watch films and you think this could be improved, but with Hot Fuzz you're like, no.
There's not much that could be done with it. Yeah. There isn't really if you think about it. Yeah.
They kept it simple and it's all it needed, and it is an absolutely fantastic film. And I thoroughly enjoy watching it.
Yep. On that note, I cannot add any more. So I think we've been talking of celluloid codswallop.
I think we have.
Thank you very much, James.
Thank you, James.